Good afternoon, isn't it? So it's
Yeah,
good afternoon,
yeah.
Stuart.
You all right?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
All good, thank you. All good. Yeah, really good. Yeah.
Excellent. It's raining here, really pouring with rain.
I know it's a bit grey and dull here, but it's still dry and it's quite warm, so I'm happy with that.
Bring back summer.
Yeah.
So we're season 2,
yes,
episode 5.
Yeah.
And Stuart and I have had lots of off-camera subjects, conversations lately with regarding inclusivity.
Yep.
And particularly with the opening of so many independent shows, whether it's fair for us to be inclusive, whether we are actually becoming a non-inclusive sport. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I just think it came up a little bit with, obviously, like I say, with the different events that are out there, and let's say the clients or the clientele that they're trying to attract or not trying to attract, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And I know it's kind of a hot topic on AgilityNet, isn't it, where you see people brand the words elite.
Yeah.
And well, elite is the big one, and I think some people on their social media posts often use it in quite a derogatory way. So it's almost like, well, you know, the elite are pushing everybody else out.
Yeah.
And I think that's unfair. And kind of what class is elite? Well, you know, what is an elite person?
Yeah. And I think we sort of, a few of the conversations that I've seen or listened to and read on different, like say, on AgilityNet and different bits and pieces, it seems to be that if you either spend most of your time, if you've got your own equipment, if you have the opportunity to train whenever you feel like it or whenever you can, maybe if you even are a trainer from a business point of view, we seem to be lumped into that bracket of being elite.
Yeah, I don't think I'm elite.
No, exactly.
I think I'm lucky. Well,
yeah.
I don't even think I'm lucky, actually, Stuart. Do you know what I mean? No. I'm passionate. And I get off my arse and I work hard.
Yeah.
And before I started training agility, I managed to find myself a little field that I drove around for about a week looking for. Yeah. I live in quite, you know, built up area, so fields are quite hard to come by. And I worked hard in order to be able to do that. Because I'm a dog trainer, the agility training profession became second. And I say all the time, actually, it's not my main business. It really isn't my main business. I compete like you, or have competed, not you probably more so than me, but I've competed once internationally. My daughter's competed once.
Yeah.
Another team now. Compete in champ, never won a champ ticket.
Yeah. But I just think it comes across sometimes, I think, as the ones that have spent, like I look at it, ones that spend their hard-earned money, the ones that spend all of their spare time, that choose to spend their spare time, that choose to book on all the extra training days, that choose to go to the you know, the qualifying events, that choose to go there, they're the ones that are doing well or seem to be doing well. But that's because they're putting themselves into that position to do that.
Yeah, so that's kind of
the ones that go right,
energy, isn't it?
You know, whereas the ones that sounds really bad, but the ones that say the elite, that say here the elite doing this, that, and the other, are the ones that are, you know, they do their training once a week. They go to a show for their social aspect a lot more. Yes, they want to compete. Yes, they want to do well, but their lifestyle or whatever they choose to do doesn't lead them to become you know, top level, should we say?
Yeah, exactly that. And maybe that's jealousy.
Well, maybe some people it is, some people it is.
Anyway, as always, we've gone off topic.
Yeah.
So we kind of,
I guess the inclusivity part of it for me was, I was looking at, let's say, you know, we can go to 2 different shows, you know, not going to even say different end of the country, but 2 different, completely different shows on the same weekend. And on a Saturday, you can go to show A, and it will be, you know, the courses are, I'm not going to say easy, but easier.
Mhm.
you know, and they're quite simple. They're what I would class as traditional courses for whatever level. Let's say that we'll pick the lower levels for now, traditional courses. And then on the Sunday, you can go to show B, and you've got what is classing or being classed now as the more up and coming international style, open flowing, fast
Yeah,
courses.
so
So when you go to these events, I suppose we're looking at those that are looking for the more traditional, easygoing, easy courses, turn up at show B and then go, oh shit, I can't do this, and then they feel left out or not being able to cope with it or feel that it's not suitable. So how do we let them know that
but that
that's
show's
what you're
not
going to
aimed at
expect?
them?
Yeah.
And how do the show organisers deal with that?
Because obviously the show organisers want to get as many clients in as possible, whether you're a club or whether you're an individual sort of business.
And I think you'll always get, even from show to show and ring to ring, you'll get a different style of courses, which is
because
okay,
the judges will have their own styles anyway.
Yeah, but I think what you're kind of getting on about is shows like Iconics and British Agility Championships, and even other shows where they have the room, so it's a business. They have really, really nice size rings and kind of and I think sand often, I don't know whether it often runs faster than grass, but it's often perceived to run faster than grass, isn't it? And more international type skills, so testing those skills at speed for grade 1 to 2 handlers, and then perhaps a more, I guess, of what we class as a grassroots show, where the skills aren't tested quite so much at speed because they haven't got the size and everything else of the rings. And I do wonder, so that in itself says that agility is not inclusive. Well, agility is inclusive as itself, but every individual show, maybe we're going towards the fact that they should embrace that they're not inclusive. And I don't know how they would go about that.
I mean, because obviously, like I say, because we want to make sure that agility is, open to as many people as we can possibly get, or all of the people that want to do it. But I just feel that sometimes, especially from let's say if we go from a lower level handling point of view or handler point of view, turning up to a big event with no preparation or no idea about what that event is going to be or do for you, compared to your local show where all your friends are, your local people, whatever it is where you fall down, if that makes, and then it could put people off.
And I think that's okay. So as well, this could become more of a safety problem as well, going from what Paul Hinchy was saying the other day. So I've noticed in my business that, in fact, we've all noticed it in life, haven't we, that people are cutting back, and we're all having to cut back. So during COVID, obviously there were lots of people training agility in their gardens. Let's kind of talk about grade 1. I had some pet dog owners that just wanted to learn a new skill, and we were just playing around. They made I set them a project of making a jump out of cartons, and, just little things like that, who have now kind of, and I'm sure there's lots of people like that are now wanting to go and compete, and they may well have successfully taught their dogs to weaves and, etc., etc. And that type of dog training, I believe, wouldn't necessarily give them the skill on an average sized garden, the skill to approach a larger venue course. And then, as you say, then they're going to be, and they're probably not training in a club, some of these guys, because there's lots of clubs have gone, so that's a fact as well. So suddenly you've got a dog that's done a dog walk in the garden, probably a little like a garden equipment, and then they want to go to a show, they go to a show, and suddenly the dog is hitting that dog walk at much more speed, and particularly if they went along to one of the high profile events, you know, where people are businesses, they're advertising on social media, etc., and why shouldn't they? Like, wow, I'd really like to go to that. Oh my God. And then suddenly you've got, you know, as you say, an owner that has been, their confidence has been smashed, and potentially the dog's confidence at the very least has been smashed. I mean, we're talking worst case scenario. They may just
absolutely,
a really good time and everything else, but so would that not be better for, you know, shows to turn around and say, okay, this is aimed at?
Yeah, I mean, that there is that. I think you should be able to put in. I sort of said there should be something on the schedule, maybe to tell you firstly what rings they're running on, so what surface they're running on. You know, I know they already put on the schedules that you know what equipment they're using, but maybe what surface it is, what ring size they've got.
No, I'm not sure that necessarily. I mean, agility, not everybody has Facebook, do they? You know, an agility net is an amazing source of information. And local dog groups and everything else. And I see lots of posts where people say, "Oh, speak to your local clubs, etc., etc." But would somebody new to the sport, not sport, actually have the knowledge to know that, you know, my dog is going to run faster in that size ring, or you know, the elite handlers are going to be at that show, which just by presence are going to make my confidence feel lower, you know?
Well, then I suppose if you
know that,
but if you're that sort of you're at that level of your training or competing level at the moment, so you're right, let's say we're right down on the pecking order at the moment, we've just started, we don't know it, but we don't know anybody, we don't know anything really. We've done a few sort of training sessions, we've been to a couple of private lessons maybe. So you wouldn't know who the elite or the advanced handlers are, so you wouldn't have that pressure. I don't think.
I guess that would be really good, and you just want to go along and have fun, and you may,
so you just
best case scenario, think, wow, I've just had an amazing time, and then go.
Because you wouldn't know who that person is, or that person is, or not. You wouldn't know who the judges are.
No,
and you wouldn't know whether your dog runs faster on sand or grass at that point, because you haven't had that experience. So,
and we all know how addictive agility is.
Yeah, exactly. So if we're saying we need to let them know about what's going on at that show, I don't think that if you're at that level, you really know or care.
You probably don't. No, you just want to go out and have fun.
Because you just go, oh, I'm going to go to that. That looks like a great venue. I'll go there. It's got a bar. It's got a cafe. It's got, it's got, this, that, and the other. I've seen a few of my friends have booked on already. They've said, so we're going to go there. And they wouldn't know if the top 10%.
No, and maybe, I think I have become a little bit, I was called a princess the other day. I couldn't believe me and princess was linked in the same thing. And I'm like, and it was meant as an insult, but like a funny insult, like just really a princess, like, I'm holding hands for everybody, and and maybe they just want to go and have fun.
But that's the other thing as well. Like, so if you can say, when we say about inclusivity to it, we have also got to remember, yes, there's the top 10% take it very seriously. They travel all over the country to chase and champ and qualifiers and bits and pieces. They spend all of their money, their time, whatever they've got, to make sure they are the best at what they do. But then we've also got the other sort of 90% that only just want to go and have a bit of fun, and they don't really, I'm not going to say they don't care, but they're not bothered so much about chasing.
Well, it is not having the knowledge, isn't it? I think I kind of listen to you talk, I'm like, God, I'd probably like, oh no, don't go to that show, you're going to feel a little bit out of your league, and actually they might not.
They might not do. So I think
that comes into a full circle.
We've had a little bit of a conversation about this before as well. I think obviously off camera and stuff. When I say, I think even outside of agility, there seems to be a lot of hand holding going on anyway, regardless. And I think
I'm really guilty of it. I'm really guilty of it.
Yeah. And I mean, I try, don't get me wrong, I try and make sure everybody is comfortable and look after.
Yeah, but I'm holding hands, Stuart, with people that don't want their hands held.
Exactly. So sometimes you've got to go out there and find out you've got to go and fall over at some point.
Yeah, so but I look at it from a dog's point of view, right, and think about it as a worst case scenario. Okay, yeah. So little Ted's running around the garden. He's probably hitting the dog walk at maybe even a trot, you know, yeah. And suddenly think about what Paul was saying, right? So that really did get me thinking that actually we have our dogs into predatory mode at certain times during international courses, and we know that dogs are blind in predatory mode. So suddenly, right, poor little Bob, or whatever I've just called him, goes along to a good show, you know, really well organised show with massive amount of distance. So already they've gone hyped up because they're in a more exciting venue. So dog's gone probably into like grade 1 arousal, and then owners getting nervous, dogs popped into grade 2 arousal, you know, and then other dogs are barking and their dogs are getting, and so you've got all this going on. Suddenly they're going to walk this course and you've got, I don't know, a really fit guy, woman, like, oh yeah, this is going to be so much fun. Little Freddie, Bob, or whatever you called him, is then going to hit canter, maybe even gallop, which he's not going to be used to, maybe not even be fit for. Hit a dog walk much harder. A handler may not know, be aware of lines and things like that. So worst case scenario may even come off. So that's an accident that could have been avoided if we'd have educated more, or, and I think this is probably a piece of rubbish, I can't exactly say this, but I will, you know, businesses target, is it okay to say that we're not including that person, that actually that show isn't aimed at complete beginners, it's aimed at more grade 1 handlers, grade 2 handlers with their second dogs, with their third dogs, with their fourth dogs, where they've got more knowledge or may have gone in and joined the club, or am I just being too anal with it?
No, I mean, I think there should be something in there, but I think maybe there should be maybe a regulation from a competitive point of view. So like, let's say the Kennel Club, because they're the biggest one at the moment, everybody knows who they are and it's easy to explain. But let's say the Kennel Club have put in a string of tests or things that you have to complete before you're allowed to enter a Kennel Club show, and you have to prove that you've done those. So
and I guess that
I
comes
think there's
back
some countries in Europe, I'm not sure, I might be speaking completely, I think there's some countries in Europe somewhere that you're not allowed to, I think you're not even allowed to train agility until you've gone through your competence test from obedience point of view.
I think that's an amazing idea.
And then I think agility wise, you're not allowed then to compete until you've done.
And in those countries, I lack of knowledge here.
I'm probably completely wrong, but I'm pretty sure I've heard somewhere before that happened.
I mean, not a load of bullshit.
Yeah, probably. But even if it is, it's a good idea.
It's a great idea. Is there any countries though? Because that could only happen if agility was a sport.
Yeah, well, yeah,
you can't suddenly put, at the end of the day, agility is a hobby, right? Agility is a hobby.
So maybe that's where our gap is in what we want to achieve, because we're not a sport and we're not regulated by anybody.
A project for you there somewhere.
So because we're not regulated in any way, shape or form, really.
Well, I mean, that's across the board in the dog world, isn't it?
Yeah, we're not regulated.
No, and even that, I think, during COVID, it makes my blood boil. Actually, I'm embracing my inner bitch, that because I don't have an inner bitch, apparently. I found that out this weekend over a bottle of wine as well. I'm just too nice to everybody, apparently. But it's like I can't remember what I was going to say now. I was too busy and trying to embrace. But no, it's gone out of my head. Go on.
So yeah, should be, so because we're not regulated in any way, shape or form, I don't think that we can be inclusive or non-inclusive, because nobody's allowed to say who is allowed to do what.
So basically you can do what the hell you like anyway. So that's what I was going to say, is there's so many suddenly behaviours. So there's always been trainers that, popped up and been trainers without education. So that's fine. But it's not fine, but it happens. But suddenly I make a point of if I'm answering a like, so, you know, like businesses tag you, or like I'm looking for a dog behavior or a dog trainer, I'm like, be sure of what you want. You know, if you want a clinical dog behaviorist, they've been to university, they have the right to charge so much more than a dog trainer. Looking on the flip side of that, generally that sort of behaviorist, will then say go and engage a trainer to help you through the program. And a good trainer would always get on board a good behaviorist as well. So but you've seen it, I see it all the time where like, Jesus, and there's people out there fighting, I know, for it to become regulated and everything else. But taking it back to agility and what some of our guests said, it is unregulated, and that's what makes it so creative and so lovely. But basically people can do what the hell they like. And you could set up a show tomorrow, we could set it and have a target audience, but then having a target audience doesn't necessarily make it inclusive. So is it okay not to be inclusive these days?
I don't.
That's controversial.
But I don't.
There's so
but we can't be inclusive or non-inclusive because we haven't got any rules or we haven't got any regulations or regulating body to tell us that yes, we've got the Kennel Club and you've got they've got their rules and regulations. It
would be okay to be non-inclusive because no one's going to send me. You're not going to get chucked in prison. You might get chucked in Facebook
but then you can't hold it. But then you can't hold a Kennel Club show because you have to follow their rules or regulations.
Yeah, but potentially, right? So
you can't have a UK agility show because you have to follow their rules and regulations.
But you don't have to do any of that. I could run a show tomorrow.
Yeah, you could set up a show tomorrow
and say,
an affiliated show.
Looking at inclusivity in the world that it is today, I'm way out of education on this. I had to write a course for a college on equality and diversity, so I was well up on the rules and regulations, but I'm going back kind of 15 years. But so you look at everything, how many different genders there are, how many different ethnicities there are, how many different this, that and the other, right? And people are embracing that, and I don't see that as wrong. I see that as a good thing. That people can be what they want, and freedom of speech and all the rest of it, right? However, as an organization, there's going to be something that doesn't suit somebody, is there not? So if I set up I'll put myself out there, right? I'm going to set up an agility show tomorrow. I wouldn't have a go ring, so that puts out all my pet dog owners that would love to come and have a go. I wouldn't do that because I haven't got the manpower to do it. So suddenly I'm not inclusive with that. But
there's also, isn't there a show out there, or I'm pretty sure that we could set up even a Kennel Club show and say grade 3 to 5 only.
Yeah, there are shows that do that. There are shows. So that's not an inclusive show. So I think it's fair to say that and the agility community, I think it's fair to suggest that people need to embrace that some shows aren't inclusive because they cannot be inclusive.
So, maybe what we're saying then is that instead of shows saying we're going to do grades 1 to 7, we're going to get classes to cover all those levels 1 to 7. So let's say some of the bigger events or the bigger, more up and coming shows, the businesses that are out there setting up shows, whatever, can now turn around and say, right, we're not going to cater for level 1, grade 1 to 2. We're going to
so then suddenly you've got an uproar on Agility Net. That poor show has then been slated. Why are you not? And I've seen that before. Even like, okay, we're doing small to medium, and sometimes it's slightly irritating. So if you've got a friend, say, with a large dog and it's a small to medium show, I'm not talking about the guys that do it on separate days, but literally just one show for one particular height of dog, right? Suddenly on Agility Net, they're going to get slated. There's going to be somebody with an
Isn't there a show out there that does that?
It's not fair.
Isn't there a show out there that does that?
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying though is, and I've seen it, Stuart, is where people have turned around and gone, well, that's not very fair. Not kind of thinking, oh, well, actually, you know, they've had to do that, or they've chosen to do it, you know. So as much as, you know, we embrace, you know, different genders, I can't think of all the different examples. We need to embrace as well, I think, that people have a choice, you know, and if a business or an organization choose to target something that could be perceived as non-inclusive, then surely that's okay.
I don't know. I don't know even now from a legal point of view. I don't know.
Well, you know, I can go, so from a legal point of view, and I'm doing this actively, you know, from an equality and diversity point of view, I'm looking for male trainers because I don't tick all the boxes, you know, I haven't got a male trainer. So that's not fair. So I can actively go and seek a male. I'm probably going to get slated by someone that knows all the HR regulations, but you can go and do that. You know, if you're not ticking.
Well, that goes into a while ago when I was setting up a gentleman's club agility training.
Yeah, well, you see, you excluded me.
For men only.
You did it without me.
Yeah. So for men only, from a training point of view, and I got slated from that massively for that. But I think somebody did research it for me, and they actually put in the regulations to say that I think
it's okay to do it. Yeah, yeah.
I think it's only religion and colour, I think.
I don't know. Yeah, which I can understand. Yeah, I could understand. I'm way out of it. But
yeah, I don't know the full ins and outs, which is why I didn't. Which is why it slowed down a bit.
And I don't really want to talk about something.
But anyway, as far as inclusivity goes, in agility, I think
it's an inclusive sport. So there are so many choices, isn't there? And I feel sorry for some show organisers because they can't get the numbers in because there are so many. And that was a problem pre-COVID. I think some sadly have been wiped out because of COVID. So we're not getting much choices. I'll tell you what I have noticed this year. I think I noticed it last year actually, and it's nothing to do with inclusivity, but the season's gone shorter again. So a few years ago, when I first started agility, the agility season seemed to have disappeared. You could kind of go
it used to be like April to September was a
and I think it's pretty much come back there, although you got like kind of Discover Dogs and the grand finals and Olympia and all that at the end of the season. I was looking and I was like, oh, there's not so much to do now during the winter. And I guess that may be because of the price of venues and everything else.
But maybe indoor venues are probably more expensive.
Yeah, again, we've gone off the whole inclusive. So it's probably okay to say that agility is inclusive because it is. Yep. However, there needs to be something out there that educates people.
But also, I think it's
acceptance. Some shows they can't include everybody.
But I think it's perfectly acceptable as well for a show organizer to say that this show is only open to grade 5 to 7.
Yeah, or 1 to 3.
Or 1 to 3, or whatever.
Equally, that and I could see where that would come from. I absolutely think that would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
You know, but then I'm going to moan because suddenly I've got my grade 2 dog coming out. I'd have to be in 2 different places. But then again, you have to choose. You know,
so in that respect,
so they're not including me.
So we're not. Yeah, so we're not inclusive.
So it's okay. We need to embrace that every
then
single
you have
show,
to make that choice. Then
stop slating people that run shows that can't be inclusive.
You just have to make a choice on what you actually want to do that weekend.
And the fact is, Stuart, right? We should all remember that why we do agility, right? We do it for fun, and so 2 years ago, me and you didn't get to run on the IFCS team. Yep. I was so gutted. It took me a long time to come out of that. Now I'm on IMCA, like we both are. So I don't know about you, but I've gone from like, oh, I'm just so glad to be at the tryouts again. It's just been so lovely to go back out there. Suddenly, like, no, I want to win.
We're going to go all out this time.
Yeah. Yeah, and it has made me a little bit more like, yeah, let's just do it, you know, just enjoy it weekend after weekend, and kind of stop moaning, and try not to get frustrated, because that leads to frustrations towards your dog, doesn't it?
Yeah, and also does that, when we get to, if we go back to, like say, I can't go to that show because I've got a grade 2 dog, yet you're only open from grade 3 to 7. I've got a grade 2 dog and a grade 5 dog, for instance. So I can't go to that show with my grade 2 dog. But isn't that okay? That you've got the choice to go or not?
Yes, exactly. You all have a choice of what you do when you get up in the morning.
Yeah, all right. So it's a little bit annoying. Okay, you've got 2 dogs and you want to take both. Okay, whatever. Oh well, I'll concentrate on this dog this week, and then next week I'll go to another show with my other dog and concentrate on that.
And I think as well, kind of this series really is kind of opening my brain, because when we were talking to the scent guy and everything else, you know, it's like the whole tolerance level is down. So I'm certainly seeing more frustrated people.
Yeah.
And so empaths like myself want to hold more hands. So then you become like, you know, a few weeks ago, I was like, I can't help everybody, you know, and so it's been, I guess, quite tough coming out of COVID, but maybe now to become more ruthless and actually just get on with it. Just get on with it and go and enjoy your dog. But then I also not worry, I don't lose sleep over it, but I also do think that safety, you know, that does come into it. Maybe so think about the independents, the big independents, the what I would call high profile events like British Agility and Iconics are the two that come spring to mind. Maybe we could get Neil or Anne, you know, to come along and have a chat.
We can try and get
and see whether they want to be inclusive or not. Of course they want to be inclusive because they're a business, but it would be interesting to see their shout on it, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Maybe we can do that.
And somebody that runs the other side, what we would class as a grassroots.
To see what their opinion is.
Locally, who've we got? Probably Packersham, so Ian Bolchin. So, you know, someone like that. I'm just I can't think of any more, but maybe we could get someone else to come at it from another angle as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, super.
Right, we'll wrap that one up there, I think.
Yeah, it's been lovely talking to you anyway.
Yeah, and to you, and you.
See you later.
We'll see you next time.
Yeah, bye.